AI is transforming how software testing works. But using AI tools is not the same as using them professionally. The ISTQB Certified Tester Testing with Generative AI certification defines the structured, internationally recognized standard for applying generative AI in testing. It validates your ability to engineer effective prompts, evaluate AI outputs, enhance automation, and integrate AI into real testing workflows. This is more than experimentation. It is professional competence. Stand out. Prove your expertise. Get certified in testing with generative AI.
Greetings from ISTQB. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our audience, wherever you are in the world. So after the segment of AI talk about City AI and City Gen AI, we are now having to extend this AI talk to another role, yet an important role in a test team. That would be a test manager. And to shed light onto this topic, we have with us our expert from the industry, Irina. So Irina is a business coach, a business consultant, a coach, and a trainer. And he will be talking about an important yet sometimes misunderstood the role of a test manager in the AI era. So Irina, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Lovelace. Good day, everyone. Morning, afternoon, or evening, no matter where you are. And thank you for being here. Indeed, as Lovelace presented, I want to dive into discussing the role of a test manager. Because when we talk about AI in our industry, in the QA industry, the conversation often starts with tools, automation, productivity, or acceleration as the context drives us into that discussion. And all of these are equally important, no doubt about it. But what I consider we also need to do in nowadays context is something deeper, since the context is happening underneath all these technical, apparently technical points. Since AI is not only changing what we build, the way we build software, it is also changing the way decisions are made inside organizations. And decisions are made by us as humans, and because of that, it is also changing the accent of the role of quality assurance itself in an organization. Looking back in time, very long time ago, QA was strongly associated with validation, with finding defects, checking requirements, and supporting releases. And yet, these things still matter, that's for sure. But today, with the teams that I am working, and most probably we are all working, especially in environments influenced by generative AI. And in such environments, the volume of information that is input at a faster pace of execution leads to a significantly higher number of decisions happening in parallel. And when I look at this kind of environment, what can be observed is that quality is not longer only about whether something works technically. It's actually more and more about whether decisions remain coherent over time, whether teams still share the same directions while adapting continuously, whether teams still can move, actually, if organizations as a whole can move fast without losing clarity. And this is where I believe the role of QA starts expanding. And I say expanding it because it's not moving away from testing, but it goes beyond testing, in my opinion. It goes towards governance, towards trust, towards human responsibility. So, as Lovelace already mentioned, my name is Ecaterina Irina Manole, and I'm a business consultant, I'm a coach and a trainer. I work with leaders, with teams and organizations, and support them in their transformation journey to sustainable learning, to innovation and adaptability through coherence. And today we are going into this idea talking about AI in the QA industry. The conversation often starts on this side with tools, automation, productivity, acceleration, and all of these are still important, that's for sure. But what I want to do in this talk today is to go a bit deeper, because in nowadays context, there's something deeper since the context itself is happening underneath. Since AI is not only changing the way we build software, it is also changing the way decisions are made inside organizations. And for this, or because of that, it is also changing the accent of the role of quality assurance in an organization. If we look back in time, way long ago, QA was strongly associated with validation, with finding defects, with checking requirements, ensuring coverage, supporting releases, and yes, these still matter, that's for sure. Today, from my own experience, I'm working, and most probably we are all working, especially in environments influenced by generative AI. And in these environments, complexity is increasing at a speed that changes how teams operate altogether. And that is due to a large volume of information that is input at a faster pace of execution, which leads to a significantly higher number of decisions happening in parallel. And when I look at this kind of environment, what can be observed is that quality is no longer only about whether something works technically. It is more about whether decisions remain coherent over time, whether teams still share the same direction while adapting continuously, whether organization can move fast without losing clarity. And this is where I believe the role of QA starts expanding. And I'm using the word expanding because I really want to make it clear QA is not moving away from testing, but what it happens is that it goes beyond testing because the context goes beyond. It goes towards governance, it goes towards trust, and towards human responsibility. And I think this is also why we are seeing more and more conversation emerging around AI governance, responsible AI adoption, ethical decision-making, which drive the upcoming changes in the CTAL TM syllabus and the test manager role to include extensions and discuss the connections with AI ethics and with governance. Because once AI starts influencing decisions, makes recommendations, prioritizations, and it affects delivery itself, quality can no longer be separated from the human systems around it. And this changes something fundamental for QA leaders. So the question is no longer, why does the system work? But increasingly, do we still understand how decisions are being made? Another good question in this context is, can teams challenge outcomes safely? And can we adapt without losing direction? Or can we trust still, or can trust still be maintained while speed increases? I believe this is where quality assurance becomes much more than a technical function. It becomes a stabilizing role. This is a stabilizing role in increasingly dynamic systems. Now, in this kind of complex system, we should ask ourselves what breaks first. And my answer would be that decision coherence breaks first. In my experience with the projects that I'm currently working, the first thing that I've started noticing in complex projects is that systems rarely fail suddenly. Most of the time, fragmentation appears gradually, especially in distributed environments. I'm working with launches where multiple regions are involved, each with different timelines, different constraints, different local pressures, which basically shape the product and the delivery. And in this kind of context, what I always take care in the beginning is for everyone to be aligned, which means the strategy to be clear. To be clear for a strategy, it means not only to be understood, but to be embraced by everybody, to believe in it. Then we have the objectives to be shared, the product direction to be embraced again by the whole team, or by all the teams, better said. Once all this is in place, we start execution. And teams naturally start optimizing locally, taking good decisions that make sense in their local context. Now, these should be like regional adjustments, delivery shortcuts that convey to their context, prioritization shifts, process adaptations, right? So each individual decision solves something real in their context. The essence is that with Gen AI, the execution is accelerated. Good decisions are still there, but they are only making sense in the immediate context. And I think these two words, acceleration and immediate, are strongly connected, and I will show you why. So what happens over time is that the connection between decisions starts weakening. And that is usually where coherence begins to disappear. Not because people would be incompetent, not because teams are misaligned or intentionally misaligned. It's mostly because complexity increases faster than the system's ability to maintain a shared clarity. This is something AI environments amplify significantly because AI increases speed, parallel decision-making, ambiguity. It creates a dependency between systems, a cognitive overload. All these basically create a higher pressure, and people naturally move into reaction mode. It's what we can often hear being called firefighting mode. And once teams enter that state of firefighting consistently, local optimization becomes stronger than the systemic coherence. And going along the way of the project plan, we see that delivery may still appear functional, but eventually the impact becomes visible, that we have inconsistent execution, we have repeated corrections. This would lead to trust erosion, to unclear ownership, to decision fatigue. It's overwhelming for people to go again and again on taking decisions, and to fragmented collaboration. And this is where I think QA leaders have a very important role, because QA or quality assurance sits in a unique position across systems. It's a position where the people in QA see the processes, they see dependencies, they see communication gaps, they see the repeated friction points. All these are the visibility that matters enormously in AI-driven environments. Going beyond testing a little bit and looking what I want to say with system role. The perspective on quality assurance, as I've mentioned, has changed in time significantly, especially while working in product launches, in distributed systems and complex delivery environments. We have this role that means more and more. What happens is that QA was primarily a validation layer, and now it becomes a systemic role. a role that supports coherence, it supports cross-team communication, processes, decisions, and delivery, because quality is deeply influenced by how systems functions internally, how the information flows, how priorities shift, how teams collaborate under pressure, how decisions are escalated, how uncertainty is handled. And in practice, many delivery issues are process issues, are actually communication issues, alignment issues. All these lead to decision issues, right? Which means QA leaderships becomes strongly connected to process improvement, to organizational clarity, to team dynamics, to decision quality, to governance capability. And here, the leadership in quality assurance becomes extremely valuable, being a stabilization factor, not only a control one. It's exactly the factor that will help teams maintain clarity while things evolve quickly. They are the ones helping organizations adapt without fragmenting internally. They are the one helping delivery remain connected to direction. And increasingly, quality assurance is helping organizations integrate AI responsibly, not only technically. Because if we take a step back and look at the context, responsible AI adoption is not only about models or tools. It is the whole environment around them. It's about decision, it's about escalation paths, it's about governance structures, the psychological conditions in which teams operate. And that human layer matters much more than many organizations initially expected. And this is seen nowadays really a lot. And since the last point I've mentioned was around psychological conditions in which teams operate, this is one point that affects most nowadays the team members, the leaders, and the organizations. And I want to have a deeper look on it. So, psychological safety becomes relevant because this is a place where people can speak up. They can challenge outcomes and they can admit uncertainty. What psychological safety is not about lowering standards. It's not about avoiding accountability or about hindering speed, innovation, or adaptation. Actually, it's exactly the basic ingredient with which these are nurtured. It's about creating environments in which people can escalate concerns, in which they can challenge the assumptions without the fear of punishment or humiliation. And this becomes critically important in AI environments because AI systems create uncertainty naturally. And teams will increasingly face situations where the outputs look correct but may not be reliable. You most probably faced that already. Decisions are accelerated faster than the validation capacity. Then people are unsure whether to trust the system. Ethical concerns are difficult to raise, and the ambiguity increases continuously. So this is today's context, actually. And without the psychological safety, people will stop escalating concerns, and this is the last thing that we want. They will stop challenging outputs, and they will stop admitting uncertainty or asking the difficult questions, especially under pressure. And when we take another step back from this picture, we can see that once this happens, governance weakens very quickly. They are all connected because governance is not only frameworks and policies. Governance also depends on whether people feel safe enough to surface risk early. This is why I really believe that psychological safety is directly connected to quality. And increasingly, of course, to the AI governance itself that I was mentioning. Because trust cannot exist in environments where people are afraid to speak honestly. And I will give you a real example here. In the delivery environments I'm working in, one of the patterns that I see repeatedly is how quickly teams enter the continuous reaction mode. Where AI creates speed, people enter reaction mode due to high pressure. And at that point, they value more local immediate response instead of the systemic clarity. And in the world where we are living now with distributed teams, this is really not okay. Such situations may look temporary or isolated, like a difficult release, maybe a tight deadline at some point, or an unexpected dependency. But when the pace remains consistently high, teams slowly start operating almost entirely around urgency. And under these conditions, coherence becomes very difficult to sustain because urgency compresses reflection, and teams will stop asking, does this still support the larger direction? And they will only focus on what can we unblock right now. And this is a natural human response to pressure, but over time, systems built primarily around reaction lose stability internally. And this is where clarity becomes extremely important. The new points to be in focus for clarity are around what remains stable, what can adapt, what cannot be compromised, and what decisions support long-term direction. These are 4 points that are really important. And we shouldn't be mistaking coherence with rigidity. Here, the difference between them is that actually coherence is the ability to adapt while maintaining connection between decisions. Maintaining coherence and connection between people and with the direction. And these all go into the capacity that becomes essential in AI-driven environments. Because acceleration without coherence eventually will create fragmentation, that is for sure. Looking at the role of QA and the leaders that are expanding, my experience leads me to assert, and I truly believe that QA leaders are entering a very important moment because QA leaders' relevance will no longer depend on technical capability. It will be actually the role that requires a broader understanding of quality itself, understanding that is covered by not only technical quality, but organizational quality, about decision quality, about collaboration quality, governance quality, and ultimately, human quality inside systems that are becoming more and more complex every year. So what I want to say as a closing is that QA helps system evolve through losing coherence while changing. That would be my presentation for today and my invitation to look at the bigger picture for quality assurance.
Perfect. Thank you, Irina. That was a holistic view of test management, a different view from a test from test management perspective that we are used to as testers in the industry. Really fitting us the psychological part, also the safety that you need in terms of the support from the team. Right. So an interesting point of view as well on the test management certification that we have on ISTQB. So for our audience, if you want to learn more about the test management certification on ISTQB, again, the go-to website is istqb.org, and then there is test management on Core Advanced, where you can have access to the syllabus, the sample paper, and to the answer sheet for the sample for you to prepare. So, Irina, Thank you very much for this presentation. We'll now take some of the questions. I see some questions flowing in from our audience. The first one is, you talked a lot about coherence and decision making. How do you actually maintain coherence in a fast-moving environment where teams constantly need to adapt? So adaptation is now the new word with the AI era. So how should we deal about with adaptation?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So indeed, as you've already mentioned, Lovelace, it's a different point of view over the role of leadership. And actually what I wanted to bring over with this presentation is the fact that we have a human side over everything that's technical that AI cannot, let's say, take away from us. And I wanted to put a spotlight over that thing. And especially when we're talking about coherence and decision-making and trying, as the question goes, to maintain them in the environments which are fast-moving and which need to go into constant adaptations. For me, it is a lot about maintaining connection between decisions while things evolve. So we need to take care. Let me point it like this. What helped me in practice was making sure teams always have a few stable reference points. What is the core direction? I think that's the first one. Then we have what cannot be compromised and what we can adapt locally. And I think the major shift that I did on my side was the point where what cannot be compromised came into light. And this is because generally we tend to put on a positive vision. We want to go to that objective, but we don't often think to where or what are we really trying to avoid. And when we put also our thinking into what are we trying to what are we trying to avoid, that is the point where the context is complete. We stay away from what we are trying to avoid, and this will constantly remind us of what we are trying to reach actually. And under pressure, this really helps people. They have the feeling that they make sense in the moment and they do not become rigid. They have a shared direction towards and a very firm direction towards not to.
All right. Okay, that was an interesting way to answer the question. A second question from our audience would be, how do you see psychological safety changing in an AI-driven environment?
Good question. I would make a reference with regards to psychological safety. I think it becomes more important in AI environments, and I'm mostly referring to Amy Edmondson, the Harvard, from the business school, Harvard. She came up firstly with the idea of psychological safety in teams, and nowadays it's even more stronger because AI creates uncertainty, which means teams will increasingly work with outputs that look convincing, but move quickly, with outputs that influence decisions, but are not fully transparent. And in these kind of environments, organizations need people who feel safe enough to question the outputs, to admit uncertainty, which is pretty heavy, to escalate concerns, and to challenge the assumptions. So I think that once people stop speaking honestly, the governance weakens very quickly. So for me, psychological safety is not disconnecting from AI. Governance is actually becoming a part of it.
Right.
That's how I see it.
I agree. Not to be just driven by what AI says, but also to question things around it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Irina. We'll take a last question from our audience.
Okay.
Do you think QA professionals need completely new skills in the AI era?
Thank you for the question. Very powerful ones. I think technical understanding will absolutely remain important. But I also think the role is expanding beyond these technical capabilities alone. And I think quality assurance professionals increasingly need system thinking, which they should work on. They need decision awareness, constant decision awareness. They need communication capability and governance understanding. They also need the ability to work across teams and disciplines. Because many of the problems that the organization face today are no longer just isolated technical problems. They are always connected to the complexity of the context, to the alignment between people, to trust, to the process fragmentation, even to the unclear ownership. So the quality assurance leader is a unique position to see those connections across the system. So I do not think QA disappears in the AI era. I actually think the role becomes broader and more strategic.
Like we say, the only constant is change, right? So yeah, evolution and adaptation to the new emerging era is indeed needed. Okay, I see only those questions in the chat. So Irina, it was a pleasure having you and hosting you in the conference, and thank you for your insight on the test management, the different aspect of the test management that we often overlook as test professional. And for our audience, again, a reminder for you to follow us on our social media platform, LinkedIn, Facebook, and even TikTok, to stay connected with us. So Irina, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you.
Pleasure from my side also. Thank you very much.
Generative AI is transforming how software testing works. But using AI tools is not the same as using them professionally. The ISTQB Certified Tester Testing with Generative AI certification defines the structured, internationally recognized standard for applying generative AI in testing. It validates your ability to engineer effective prompts, evaluate AI outputs, enhance automation, and integrate AI into real testing workflows. This is more than experimentation. It is professional competence. Stand out. Prove your expertise. Get certified in testing with generative AI.